We see an awful lot of happy faces tonight, and that does our hearts a lot of good because people are seeing people they have not seen for many, many years, and it's wonderful to be here at a happy event. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the greatest school in the greatest neighborhood on this planet. My name is Tony Guerriero, known through the neighborhood as Anthony, and it is my distinct honor to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Our first speaker, and we're trying to keep them to 3 minutes, will be your principal, Mr. Laera. Please welcome him.
Good evening and greetings. My name is Mr. Laera, proud principal of Salina School. I wanted to welcome everyone here tonight, Dr. Maleyko, board members, dignitaries, guests, parents, community members, alumni, everybody, to this wonderful event. I am honored to be part of the 100-year anniversary. My mother and my family went here from 1950 to 1968, and they are here today also, so I'm very happy that I'm able to welcome them back to their school like many of you have come back today. I hope you enjoy yourself this evening, talk to your friends, have a great time, and just go through the whole building and stay as long as you need to. Thank you.
Thank you. We have many distinguished guests and distinguished alumni, and I have to point out one, just for one quick moment, a point of privilege. We have one of the oldest alumni of Salina School, Jimmy Alessandro. He is so old that he was a busboy at the Last Supper. I'm very proud to introduce to you our next speaker, who will... Let's give Jimmy a round of applause. It's my honor to introduce to you our next speaker, Hussein Barry, former student, Board of Education member, and he will be introducing some guests. Hussein.
Thank you, Tony. Now, before I start, I don't want to get myself in trouble. We have a lot of lawyers, doctors, very successful people that came from the South End and Salina, but my boss told me to only recognize the list he handed me, so some of these dignitaries left already, but the ones that are here, I will try to point them out so we can give them their due recognition. Chief Ronald Haddad was here. Congresswoman Debbie Dingle was here, but she probably has like 12 other places she's got to get to tonight. God bless the work that she's doing. Representative Abdullah Hamoud was also here. Kevin Rick from Senator Garrett Peters' office was here. He sends his greetings. We also have two of my colleagues here with me, Trustee Mary Petrikoff up here in the front, and Trustee Jim Thorpe also in the front. We also have with us a long-serving former board member, Mr. Jim Schoolmaster. Jim, thank you for all your service in this district. We also have with us here Dearborn Council President, Ms. Susan DeBaja in the front. Also, Dearborn Councilman Robert Abraham. Another step out. And also Dearborn Heights Councilman Dave Wasim Abdullah. If I missed everybody, he is still here. Thank you. If I missed anybody, please bring it to my attention. It was funny yesterday. Chuck Shammy called me and told me he wants me to share with you one of my funniest Salina's story, but I only have 90 seconds to tell it, so that was like really funny. The story I want to tell you involves my cousin Popeye, Elliot Hamo, and Louis Musa, but I can't tell you that story. No, that story I can't tell you. So I'll tell you something kind of boring on the basketball court. When I played basketball here, I think we came close one game. We didn't win any games, but I was the biggest guy on the team, and I wore a size, I think, 10.5 shoes at the time. And Bryant was coming in to play us. And we heard about this guy that was about 6'7" at a junior high school that plays for Bryant. We weren't worried about him beating us. We just wanted to meet this guy. He was like a giant coming to Salina, right? The funniest thing that ever happened is I'm sitting in the locker room, and the Bryant coach came to our locker room. And if you know me, you know I always stand up and say what's on my mind. The coach comes in, he says, "Does anybody have a size 14 shoe that we can borrow?" I started laughing. I'm like, "Coach, no, we don't. But if we did," you know the rest of the story. The gentleman I'm about to introduce to come up and speak next is our superintendent, Dr. Glenn Maleyko. Dr. Maleyko started his career in this building as a substitute teacher, later to be a teacher, assistant principal, served us as HR director, now he's our superintendent. Can you hear me in the back? Well, if you can hear me in the back, this is the man you need to thank, because a year ago we didn't have this sound system. So at a school board meeting, I said, we need to get to this, and thank God that we did. But after the TV was off and after the school board meeting, I met him in the hallway and I said, "If we don't get this, I'm gonna take you behind Salina School." I don't think he knew what that meant, but the way I was talking, he figured it out. Dr. Maleyko is doing a great job here, and he plans to retire out of here. But how amazing is that? I present to you Dr. Glenn Maleyko, our superintendent.
Thank you very much, Trustee Barry. And yeah, I heard the stories of taking behind at Salina, so I knew. But, you know, really to thank him and the board for getting the sound system. But really, they did say this was a year ago, and really you should have this because we're having this event. They booked me like a year ago, and so we knew we needed to get that in, and so we were on it. But I also have great memories as principal here, Trustee Barry, always coming to all of our fundraisers, our events. Didn't have, children in the school at the time, but was just very supportive. Remember one time even, just when we brought, it was such a big thing when I was principal here in 2004 to bring the football back to the middle school, and we didn't have enough. Yes, you remember, and we didn't have money for the sled for training, and so Trustee Barry, William Ali, and several others came together, and they got the money, and all of a sudden we had the sled, and we were ready to go, and the students were very happy. So I have a lot of memories here. I know our trustees, our bosses were already mentioned, but I appreciate their support, Trustee Petlichkoff and Trustee Thorpe. We really do have a great Board of Education. The district's in a great state, and what a great day. I got to tell you, seeing everybody here, how many people ran into so many people you know, and it's just so positive. That's what happens. Yes, Andrea. Oh, Andrea hired me as a teacher here in '97, Miss Awada, and you know, it's just such a great thing. I went up with a couple of my former teachers. We took pictures. I was up in room 305, third grade, room 311, and just the memories. I know you all, I can see it on your faces. Guess what? Those are the memories I see when I go out in the community and people talk about Salina. When you say, "Oh, look, you were from Salina. I was here 12 years. I love Salina. It is who I am. It's in my heart. You're all family to me." It really helped form me and me as a professional, really. I have such great memories. And, you know, we did have some challenges. We did a lot of home visits. We had a lot of parents that would come in and couldn't speak the language. My first year as third grade teacher, I remember it clearly. But the parents respected you. You're taking care of their children. And I'm going to tell you one story. I had a student in my first class, a third grader, and they gave me all boys. I had 2 girls. It was a bit of a challenging class. It was a bilingual class. And the student actually, he drew a picture in his journal, and it had somebody getting shot. And I was like, whoa, you know, what do you do? And I was my first year as a teacher, so I went to the principal, and I don't know if Irene Blackburn's here. I heard she was here. Oh, yes, Irene, she hired me, mentored me as a leader, as Miss Awada. So anyway, I went to her, and then she's like, well, I got to meet the social worker. And, you know, it turned out he saw, his uncle got shot in a concentration camp. That was after the first Gulf War. And what it said to me was, look, I didn't grow up like that student did. I couldn't understand exactly what he dealt with, and I had no control over that. But what I did have control over was the fact that I could work my hardest to provide the highest quality education for him so that he could be successful in society and beyond. And that's what it stands for with all the students, all my former students. It's so rewarding to see them in the halls in their 20s, successful children, and it's just such a great thing. So I want to give all these former students a big round of applause here. We worked hard too, because sometimes it'd be like you'd go in different places and people were trying to talk down about Salina. Well, not us. We took offense to that, and we took pride. And I know Miss Judy Deal here, my first year too, we took pride in Salina. We got together. We were doing volleyball. We were a team. We were a professional learning community. We actually put Salina on the map for the technology program. What we wanted to do, we were one of the top in the state at what we were doing for our students. We just loved what we were doing. We had great staff. Some of the great staff members, the parents, the community that are here are now leaders not only in the district but all over the community. So you can see that I speak with passion because I just love Salina. My daughter's been on stage here when she was a baby. She's been through the classes, my son, and so the people here helped raise my children as well. Just in closing, because I know I'm going to get the hook soon, probably. He told me earlier. It was very emotional for me when I left in 2009. I was here, actually my first time coming was in 95, and I remember Waji Saad greeting me as a substitute and making me feel welcome. And then Axis was here during Christmas to make sure that every child got a gift. I remember Linda Halleck and Ish Ahmed, they were here. That was my first time I subbed at Salina, was the day you guys were doing that. And I just felt so welcome. And then it was just so fortunate when I was able to get hired by Irene and Andrea as a third grade teacher in 97. And so I just loved my time here, but it was very hard for me when I left. It really was. We had a great staff. We were doing great things. And it was 2009. And I remember the day clearly. And Mr. Whiston had said, you're getting transferred. I didn't put in for a transfer, but I was. I was very emotional. Staff members, and I couldn't help it. I just broke down crying at the assembly because I just love this school. It really is who I am, and it always will be. And, yeah, thank you. And I remember William Ali speaking at that event, and I remember Hussein Barry was there. And, I broke down, and William came up and said, it's all right, and everyone was, yeah, here I go. Last comment. Okay. See, I told you. I knew it. And anyway, so the students that I see in the hall, they tell me they didn't really like hockey, but they're huge Red Wing fans because of me. Because if you were in my class or in my school, you just had to love hockey and the Wings. So they tell me that. So that was 2009, the same day the Wings were in Game 7 of the Cup against Pittsburgh. I'm like, all right, I had a tough day. I'm leaving Salina. I'm going to go home and watch them take home a cup. Guess what? They lost. Double whammy. Now, the last thing I'll mention, my last comment, I was getting transferred to Duval. And the parents there said, well, how do you feel? You're coming to Duval, the Penguins school. Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Wings. So it was like a double doozy, and they had done the research. But anyway, great memories. Thank you, everyone. It's really a special day. I appreciate the committee. Mary, done a great job. The staff, I saw it all on Facebook, and I just love this place. You're all the best, and your family to me. Thank you very much.
And thank you for not really pushing me off. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Dr. Maleyko. They say us lawyers talk. Before I introduce the next speaker, I do want to take a moment. Dr. Maleyko mentioned it, but this event would not be happening without all the hard work that was put on by the committee. So please, join me and give a round of applause to the committee. Next, we have a real treat for you. We have Jerry Hubbard, former student, musician, and the Rhythmics band. So please welcome Jerry Hubbard and the Rhythmics.
The Rhythmics is a band that was formed 26 years ago. This band is made up of retired musicians, teachers, and a couple of professors. Don't hold that against them. Salina, this whole neighborhood is such a special place. It's 2.2 square miles in an urban setting, but it was like growing up in a small town. Because anywhere you walked in this neighborhood, you knew somebody, and they knew you. And you all took care of each other. I lived in a second-story flat. Below me were Italians. To my right was an Irish family. To my left were Mexicans. Across the street were Romanian, Hungarians, Lebanese, Syrians. We never had any discourse or problem. We all got together. We got along fine. So this was a really unique neighborhood and wonderful place to grow up in. 1959 was the first time I stood on this stage and played the first solo I ever played in front of people. And it was a song called Valley High from South Pacific. And because of the man named Fred Faze, and that's why I came here tonight. Fred spent the bulk of his working life here at Salina. He was a man you seldom saw not smiling. If he wasn't smiling, you were in trouble. But he always had a smile on his face, even when he was going through personal tragedies himself. And because of that man, I spent my life being able to play music. I traveled over the whole world. I played with all the Motown acts. I played with so many famous people. I got to meet people that were my idols when I was a child. And it was all due to the time that he spent with me. And the school was special. They let me spend an hour of my time every day in that band room. I started coming here when I was in 4th grade. I walked from Rulo over here in the morning to play with the band. He introduced me to jazz, where I got my love for it. You know, he let me play every instrument in the band. I was a poor kid. I literally couldn't afford a horn. By the time I graduated from here, I could play every instrument in that band. And that was due to Fred. So the first thing we're going to play for you tonight is from that time period, and it's written from a man named by Henry Mancini, who in 1959 wrote a song called Peter Gunn. Peter Gunn changed the way that music was done on television. And of course, many of the other tunes he wrote changed the way they did movies and the background on television. This is a tune of Henry Mancini's. It's called Dreamsville. On piano, good friend of mine, Reverend John Corrado. Flute and saxophone was Mr. Mike Gnosis, former Navy musician. 10 years after I played my first solo here as a child, I stood on the stage in my first arena and played a concert. The band I had at the time was a band called the Soul Sextet. That arena was sold out. The other two bands on the bill that day were Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, and Felix Cavalier and the Rascals from New York. The tickets, the most expensive ticket was $4.50. Times have changed. The next tune we're going to do for you is an example of modal jazz, which were created by an album released in 1959 by Miles Davis. It also had a huge influence on me as a child. This is a tune by the great Oliver Nelson. It's called Stolen Moments. next to is a combination of things that were introduced by the first two, with the addition of a little Afro-Cuban. It's a song poem that's called Montuno. It was dedicated to the children of Sanchez, which at the time this was written, Mexico had suffered a catastrophic earthquake. Many of these children were left homeless or without their parents. This is a tune that was composed by Chuck Mangione. alto sax and flute magnosis, Mr. Ken Ruschek, and tenor sax. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, I guess they don't want me to talk anymore. Our next speaker is a former student, historian, archivist, and athlete, our own Joe Garagiola.
Good evening, my fellow alumni and friends. I am a proud member of the class of 1957. Growing up in the South End, being a part of an immigrant community, with a pillar of this wonderful school being a core element of that community, was a very special treat to me. I call this gathering the Great Gathering. It's near and dear to my heart. I grew up in a rich immigrant community of 45 nationalities that spoke 52 languages. It was an extraordinary experience, an experience that I place as far as an informal education above, in many ways, my formal education at many different levels. I will live with this experience tonight and all those former memories with something very special in my heart. I want to give a very special thanks to the committee responsible for putting this wonderful program together. This group started about a year and a half ago, met on a regular basis, and I think the success of this event tonight is a credit to those people responsible for putting it on. I also want to extend a very special thank you to a small group of volunteers that worked for many, many months compiling and preserving, documenting and preserving the wonderful history of Salina School. Some of you are here tonight, and I've just loved the opportunity of sharing those times with you and being with you this evening. I have to tell you, that wonderful compilation of Salina history that dates back to 1917 is in 2 4-drawer file cabinets at the Dearborn Historical Museum in the archival room. That archive room is open from 10 to 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and is there for you to access and enjoy. So take advantage of it. Yes, I am the proud son of immigrant parents, to which I also add, I have never forgotten where I came from. Again, thank all of you for the opportunity of this evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My heart goes with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next, I'd like you to join me in welcoming one of our former teachers, Judy Deal.
First of all, it's so wonderful to see so many former students, staff, and dignitaries here for this special occasion. No matter if you lived here all of your life or moved into the neighborhood at some point, you became a South Ender with a special place for Salina School in your heart. We are celebrating 100 years of Salina, and I am remembering Iris Becker, who taught here for about 43 years. Imagine, almost half of Salina's life she was here, and for whom this auditorium is named. Well, when I came here as a young teacher in 1969, Iris Becker latched onto me and involved me in all kinds of activities like United Nations Day, March of Dimes, and Dearborn Homecoming, and all kinds of school and community activities. When Salina had a junior high school, I had homeroom in room 205, the old homemaking room. And we organized bake sales, cleanup parades, and school dances. My homeroom of 1974 were even the attendants for a wedding in the art room. That was quite an occasion too. Also in the 1970s, because of many community requests, I started the Flowers of Arabia Deputy Troop. And then we held a lot of international folk dance shows right here on this stage, in which some of you participated. In 1969, there were no girls' sports here at Salina or in the city of Dearborn. So I started a girls' city rec basketball team. And at night, I ran the Wednesday and Thursday nights, the City Rec Girls program here in the evening. Other nights were for the boys. But I made it a special goal that every girl here at Salina would learn to swim, and most of them did. Along with that, I did a little bit of cheerleading coaching, assistant track coach, and I always said, only at Salina. Okay. One of the old secretaries here at Salina, her name was Lorraine Johnson. She wrote a poem entitled Ode to Salina. And that was written for the 75th anniversary. And part of it says, we salute Salina, the Southeast Gym, and consider her a grand old school, the center of a community where togetherness is the rule. To you who once walked her aging halls, whether learning or teaching here, we know you admire Salina School, and most of you feel as we meet here tonight that you're walking on sacred ground. And I'm very proud of the 32 years I spent here. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. You know, every school is its students, but mostly its teachers. So please join me in welcoming another former Salina teacher, Angelina Lamerato.
My name is Angelina Brooks, but I was known as Miss Lamerato when I taught kindergarten. I was fortunate to teach the most beautiful, beautiful kindergarten ever, decorated with wonderful murals. I think many of you have been there to see them, painted by Edward McCavendish, an artist in 1934. He was a Depression-era artist. At the time, we had the World WPA that put artists to work that were unemployed, were put to work in painting and adoring railroads, public buildings. Well, I have notes here. When I began teaching in 1954, a long time ago, we had an influx of students from the Middle East, and they came to work here after World War II ended, and their children were, of course, bilingual. Well, we didn't have a bilingual program at that time, so often we had children that were 7 or 8 years old in the kindergarten. The philosophy was that they would learn to speak English by playing with the other children in the kindergarten. Well, I have to tell you about one special student. Her name was Hubbard, my first year of teaching. She was 8 years old. She was very capable. She was almost like having a student teacher in the room. But the only thing was she was very bossy. she would pinch the kids and say, listen to the teacher, and I had to talk to her about that. Well, one day we were out on the playground, and one of the little children was hurt, and I was going to rush her in to the school nurse. In those days, we did have school nurses. And I had told Afaf, please line the kids up and bring them in. Well, when they came in, they were in 2 straight lines. Nobody's pushing, nobody's yelling. We're all just wonderful. And this was my first year of teaching, and I didn't really have complete control of children yet. So when I had the children in front of me, I said, you know, boys and girls, I'm really very hurt because you came in past the principal's office and you're all marching and quiet, and when I bring you in, you're all over the place. Well, they said, you know what, Miss Lamerato, if we don't listen and we misbehave, she makes us bang our head against the wall 10 times. Well, of course, you know, I had to talk to her about that. But Afaf went on, here she was born in Egypt. She went on to become an executive with Ford Motor Company. Her son, some of you may know, Brian O'Salem, that's her son. And he went on to become a captain of the football team at Michigan State, and he was a national scholar, and now he's a very well-known financial advisor. Another daughter became an international lawyer. A son that I keep in touch with all the time is in California, and he's a producer in the movies. And she had another daughter who was an educator. So, you know, there were so many kids that went to school here that went on to wonderful, wonderful futures. Let me see, I have another one here. Of course, one of the most famous people would be Zubal Kachatourian, an Armenian who won the Prix de Rome after graduating from Ford in high school, and went on to Europe to study in Rome and all over Europe. And he returned here and he taught at Wayne State University at the Chicago Institute of Art. And his work is in international museums, the Tate Museum, the Art Museum here. And he's probably most famous in this area because he designed and painted the murals at the Armenian church that is in Southfield. The 1950s were also interesting. I don't think too many people knew this story. Ford Motor Company was really going strong, and they encouraged many young men from Middle East to come here to work, and many single men came here, but then after a while they were quite lonely. They missed their families, they didn't have marriages here, so the Ford Motor Company placed ads in the South, the deep South, and we had mail order brides, and we had their children in the kindergarten. While these young women had difficulty adjusting to a different culture and so forth, so we enlisted the help of the Merrill Palmer Institute, Family Institute, to help these young women adjust, and we had nutrition classes, we made home visits, and as I said, it was a very interesting time to be teaching here in Dearborn. We even had a miniature Orville Hubbard. Orville Hubbard, Casper's father, was so proud that he worked for the city of Dearborn that he named his son after him. Well, we had, you know, the mayor was wonderful about wanting cleanup parades. So we always had little Orville in the convertible with the mayor waving to the crowds. Well, I left I taught here from 1954 to 1961, and I left because I married, and I adopted 2 of my kindergarten students. By the way, both girls are here today, Helen and Rena.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give this one, right?